you've grown a lot over the past few years, and I'm going to assume that that played a role in your becoming a better leader and being able to lead your team better, hire a better team, lead a better team. Was that the catalyst for this growth that you've been seeing over the past couple of years?
Was like the personal development stuff the catalyst?
Yeah, like did that kind of start that, you said you had some things in your notebook that you wanted to manifest. Like did that start this like what I would call like a pretty fast growth period? You guys won a national award this year for fastest growth and all that?
One of the things that I figured out when I was kind of doing that self-exploration, if you will, was that my job isn't to sell the most roofs.
Welcome everyone to another episode. I'm here with my good friend Eric Oberembt from D&M Roofing in Omaha, Nebraska. What's up, Eric?
How we doing, Joe?
Doing awesome. Good to have you here. How's the summer going so far?
It's going good. Keeping busy. Got the guys out there, and it's hot. It's real hot here.
Yeah, I heard it gets pretty hot there. You got a new office going on, a new building. They're kind of wrapping up soon, hopefully.
Yeah. We've been building new office space and warehouse space for the last year and a half, and so it looks like it's all coming together, and we'll hopefully be able to get to move in next month sometime. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah. I saw your Facebook Live yesterday. You had something unique that you're building out in the office.
Oh yeah, we've got the golf sim in the back. Yeah, so in the winter I'll have something to do.
Nice. Well, you're the boss, so you can design those things however you want, I guess.
We put it in the back of my office, so you literally have to have a key to my office to be able to get into the back corner. So it will not be accessible unless permission is given.
Is that like someone who like the winning salesperson of the month or something like that gets the key?
Do something like that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have been in business over 50 years, right?
Yeah. Yep. So my grandfather started our company back in the 60s, and we started off as an old tar and gravel roofing company with a kettle and a truck. And that's what I started doing when I was a kid. And that's how I kind of learned the business and learned about the actual installation and everything. And then we kind of grew from there. And I started selling and estimating when I was 16 years old, 16 years old, when I got my first truck, and threw a ladder in the back and told me to go sell something. And so I did. And I went to college and didn't like that very much, and I quit that and called my grandpa and said, "Hey, start scheduling me more appointments." So that was kind of that was how I ended up that this was my life path.
That's awesome. So he told you to go sell something. Did you have any training, or did you know what you were doing, or was it just kind of sink or swim?
No, it was I had been driving with him for 5 years or whatever it was since I was 10 years old. And he figured that if I didn't know how to do it now, that I didn't know how to do it. And I remember the first job that I sold, he gave me a yellow legal notepad. That was what he wrote everything on, and it just had a couple addresses on it, and threw a ladder in the back, and it was a little single family house, and it had a little flat roof garage off to the side attached to the house, and we used to call those track money. Because he'd go sell those for cash for like a $500 remop, and then we could take that money to the horse track on the weekend, and that was track money. So they didn't write the company a check for those. That was track cash that we used to go bet on the pony. So that was my first job I sold, was like a $500 recoat on the side of a house.
Nice. And I'm sure that you doubled your money at the track pretty much every weekend, right?
Every time I did. Yes. I was
guaranteed.
Still am.
So how did that first, even though it was a smaller job and it was for track money, how did that first sale feel?
It felt like what I was supposed to do, right? I didn't know anything else. And as far as I was concerned, that's how you make money. That's how you make a living, right? And if you don't have any money, you go sell another job. And if you don't have any money, you better figure out a way to go sell another job. Me growing up was never you go get a job, right? Like you go work for some big company and get a paycheck and they take taxes out. Like I had no idea what that even meant. I literally never had a job. I never knew what that consisted of ever. This is all I've ever done. And I always liked it because I got to deal with different people all the time. And it wasn't the same thing every day. So back then I was actually doing, installs too. So I would have days where, I'd have weeks where I just did installs, and then I had weeks where I was just selling. And so as I grew up, I learned a lot about what not to do. And I learned that wasn't a sustainable business model. I was like, there's only so much money you can make if I'm installing this week and then I'm selling this week. It's kind of like having a restaurant. Like, you can only make as much money as many tables as you can fit in the building. I learned that pretty quick, and that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to change about our business.
Using that restaurant analogy, it's like you're going to take someone's order and then you're going into the back and you're cooking the dinner and then bringing it out to them. Like, you're going to burn out at some point, and you're going to hit a ceiling pretty quickly.
Exactly. Yep. Fact.
So you mentioned your grandfather, and it sounds like you've got a good street education and good business education from him. I love to hear about that. I grew up in my family's construction business as well, so worked with family for many years and learned a ton. Very grateful for that opportunity, and it's what seeded Contractor Dynamics, not coincidentally. Is there something that even today that you think about that your grandfather would always like tell you about or teach you about? Like, do you hear his voice in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
The one thing that I learned a couple of things that I really hold today from him, and they both kind of fight each other, right? So one is I saw how hard he worked for so long, and he was up on roofs still helping out with crews and stuff until he was, in his 60s for sure. He passed away like early 80s, but he was still up on the roofs into his like early to mid 60s. And that's just insane. Like, who does that? And so he definitely instilled in me that work ethic, that hard work ethic, and that shit doesn't come to you because you want it to. It comes to you because you work for it. And I think that that's something that I try to instill, in the guys coming in, because I got all these, you got all these young guys, these young sales guys that are 24, 25 years old, and not to be the old guy, complaining about millennials, but like, young people just don't want to work, and you really got to find the right ones that do, or you need to hold their hand and teach them, why. But the other thing that I really got from him that he didn't know that I got was I didn't want to work as hard as he did. I didn't want to kill myself. And I saw it and I was like, that's great. And I've learned a lot here, but there is no way. And I was, 19, 20 years old. And I was like, there is no way that I am going to work that goddamn hard for the next 40 years. I need to learn how to work smarter and not harder. And I took that, and I would watch him do something that I was like, boy, that seemed really hard. We could have done that a lot differently, and got it done in half the time and not had the stress and not had the whatever. And I think that I took a lot of that with me as well as I grew the business, and made it so I wasn't working dumb, right? Other people say this all the time, but like, somebody else got to pay the dumb tax for me, and I got to, learn from that, so I didn't have to do that. So I feel like one of my strengths is I learn how to work smarter and not harder.
Something that we all talk about and very few of us do or think about and really implement. My buddy Dan Andrews talks about the corner office test. Like, so if you have a job in like a company and you're trying to work your way up the ladder, and you look at the boss in the corner office and you're like, well, do I want to be that guy in 15, 20 years? And if the answer is no, then like, get the hell out of there and do something else. In your case, it wasn't get the hell out of there. It was, okay, well, I see that. I don't want to be hammering, shingles on a roof when I'm 60 years old, but there's another way that I can do this.
Yeah. I saw it as a business opportunity, and it wasn't a job. I felt like my grandpa had a job for 40 years, and he worked his ass off and made a great living and supported his family and helped people. And he did all those things that were amazing, but he had a job, and he had a really hard job. But I wanted to, build this thing that other people got to benefit from, and obviously in the end, I also benefit from it, but it's not a job. At the end of the day, it's like a calling. you know.
Now, I'm sure you see it a lot because you're very involved in the roofing industry, and I see it a lot as well. Like owners that never, I guess, make that transition out of that roller coaster of, okay, I'm going to sell, and now I have a bunch of jobs to build, and then, oh man, I just finished building those jobs. Now I got to go back out and sell some to, fill my pipeline again. It's this like constant roller coaster that some people are never able to get out of. So like, what was the mindset there? Like, did it just like, did that come naturally to you that you're like, all right, I can't do this forever. This is crazy.
No, it did not come naturally to me. I knew what I needed to do, but in the beginning, I didn't have the courage really to do it. I guess I would call it that, because I was afraid to let go of stuff. I was afraid to let go of sales because I would have these people that weren't me representing me and representing my business and representing my name. And my name meant a lot to me because the name of our business is D&M Roofing. My grandfather's name was Delton Mares. The business is literally named after my grandfather. So it's a really big deal when somebody's out there representing my name. And so that was a really big hurdle for me to get over when I decided to start farming out even sales, right? I did everything slow. And a lot of guys that you'll meet at, all the events and all the trainings and all that kind of stuff, it's like they want to go from 0 to 100, like really, really fast. I didn't do that. I don't know if I was deliberate about that because I was actually smart, or if it was just, I was scared to do that. I don't really know. But as I learned more, I realized that I was doing it intentionally as time went on. And so I kind of started slow, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to hire a couple of sales guys so we can raise sales, but I'm still going to do production. Right. And so like, I was still doing production. And then I was like, well, I need to be doing this. And so then I went and hired production out. And then I was like, well, the sales guys can't canvas as well. And so then we hire canvassers. And then I was like, well, my wife can't answer the phones anymore. Oh, I need an office manager. Oh, so I get an office manager. And so I kind of grew into the stage or into the positions that I would fill, because again, I couldn't do everything, but I wanted to free up time for personal time as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to touch on that personal time later on. It's ironic that you bring that up about the hesitance to bring on someone to represent your company, especially when it's your family name. We just had our group client call, and one of the younger, I guess, members in our cohort was on, and he's like right at that point where he's running around doing everything himself. He was actually doing the call from his car, and he got to his next appointment. He had to go, and he's like, yeah, I know I need to get to that level. I'm like at that inflection point, but I don't want to sacrifice quality because of the name of that built and everything like that. So what would you recommend to his name's Ed? What would you recommend to a guy like Ed, who's like right there, he's young, he's hungry, he wants to grow with quality, his name is super important. What would be your top recommendation for someone like that?
A couple of things is just don't hire bodies. You have to be super intentional about who you hire. And I had to go through some bad seeds. Anybody that knows me and my company watching this will know exactly, some of the people that I'm talking about, and we brought them in with all of the best intentions to train them up and whatever. And, it just didn't work out. You have to know when to fire just as much as you need to know when to hire, right? Like, don't let that poison sit there for too long, because you got to get rid of it. The other thing that I think is super important is before you do that growth, don't just do it, and I did it the opposite way. And now I do it the right way. I'm the guy that I have to hit myself in the head with a hammer like 5 times.
Same here.
Yeah. Like It's awful,
Yep.
But then I know, and then I can help figure out how to build out your processes before you even put that person into a position to execute anything. Because if you don't, then they're pissed at you because you just threw them into this job with no direction and no processes. And then maybe you made a really good hire, but you're going to lose them because your processes suck. And that almost happened to me a couple of times, but I was at least quick to recognize, ooh, shit, I need to get a really good process for this person so that they want to be here and they want to stay. And now it's funny, what's happening is that people in the area, in the community, in the, whatever, watching us, they see that we have good processes now. And now people want to work for us because of the processes that we've put in place, and how streamlined that we are in our office and in our back office.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're saying that people that might potentially be looking for a job or a sales job or some other type of position, they kind of get the feeling from social media and whatnot that you have your shit together, for lack of a better term? Or
Yeah. Because I'd have people come in here and do interviews and like, yeah, we've been watching you, and I just how organized you are, and I'm like, holy we're organized, like really? And they're like, oh my God, yeah, and I'm like, when I look back at it, I'm like, well, yeah, we are organized. Like I was super intentional about doing that, but in my mind as an owner, I can always be more organized, right? I can always have more processes. I can always have more, triggers to do this and, things like that. So for me, the job's never done, right? So when somebody says, oh my gosh, look how organized you are, I'm like, not really. But I know that we are, I know that we are, and I'm very proud of what we've done over the last couple of years.
Yeah, working with you guys and seeing your content and everything from even, half a country away, like you can definitely tell like this is a professional company that has their act together. Like when you're recruiting and you're posting for new sales reps, like you've got a video, you've got like a careers page. You're not just like posting some random thing at 11 o'clock at night, like need sales reps. Like I need a warm body. I'll give you a t-shirt and a hat. You can go knock on doors. Like there's plenty of companies like that. So you definitely stand apart.
One of the other things that I've learned is admitting and knowing what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. Right. So like marketing, I am garbage at marketing. That's how we met and, became friends and started working together. Was I didn't know shit, right? I knew like just enough to be dangerous and be like, well, should I be doing that? Right. And I think that that's everybody in this field. Everybody, you've heard something or you heard a little snippet and you're like, well, I should be doing that. And then there's an algorithm and then there's like, I don't know any of that. When you and I started working together, that was one thing. And then once I brought in a full-time, marketing director and I brought Lindsay in, with us being able to collaborate, because I have really good ideas, but I'm shit at implementing them. Like, I know that I'm bad at that.
Right.
I have good ideas, but I'm like, okay, here's the idea, run with it and figure out how to do it. And she does. And that's awesome. And then you see it half a country away and go, that looks really good. Like he really knows what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have the inside scoop, so I know it's not you. I know it's Lindsay. So
yeah. Well,
it's but no, that the whole company. Everyone's chipping in. So you're the idea guy. You had this self-awareness to realize, okay, well, I want these things to happen. I got these ideas, but like in order to get it, from idea phase out of my head to actually implementation, that's never going to happen unless I bring someone in to execute on that.
Yep. Absolutely. That's been the biggest thing that I've done. I've brought in sales guys and that's fine, but I know what I'm not good at. I'm not good at training, right? I love having meetings and talking, theory and, how to talk to people and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not good at going out in the field and knocking doors and, grinding for 7 hours a night to do that. Like, that's not me. Like, I network and make friends and, like that's how I sell. But that's such an integral part to our business, is having the troops out in the field. And I brought in a guy that is fantastic at it. Right. And I got him to own that department so that he goes out and he grinds with the guys and he trains them up and he builds them into a little army of guys, selling. That's not what I'm good at. I know I'm not good at that. And if we relied on me for that, I would be broke.
Is that Anthony you're talking about?
Yeah, that's Anthony.
Yeah. So Anthony has built up kind of his own, in my opinion, his own brand within the company as the guy. You want a job in roofing, want a sales job, go talk to Anthony. Don't talk to Eric necessarily.
Nope.
And you guys are pretty heavily into Sam Taggart and D2D, right?
Yep. So I've been in the Inner Circle with Sam. It's a little Inner Circle mastermind group with him for a couple of years now, and we use all of his training and platform and everything for all of our sales reps and canvassers and things like that, and have learned a lot. I've done a lot of, I guess one of the other things that I definitely wanted to touch on, if there's owners watching this or sales reps or whatever, I think the biggest thing that I did for myself was the money and time that I put into personal development stuff, because that has completely changed my whole outlook on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how to get to the places that I want to go. And 5 years ago, I mean, I was the guy like hippy dippy bullshit, like I'm out, and now it's the biggest catalyst that's taken me to where we're at today for sure.
Can you talk more about that? Because I'm a personal development, professional development kind of nerd, and I love that stuff. So what about that? Like, what did you get into?
So somehow Sam conned me into joining this group a couple years ago, and it was kind of my first experience with any of that kind of stuff. And we went down to Mexico, and one of the first things that we did, or the biggest thing that I gained, was he stuck us in the woods. This was the first experience that I'd had. So we were in Puerto Vallarta, and he stuck me in the woods. He told you the story too. But we were sitting on a little stream. We were given a 10 by 10 area on the stream, and we're told we had to sit there from 9 a.m. to 9 for 12 hours. We couldn't talk to anybody. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't walk around. It was just, that was our little square. And we were given a chair, and it was one of those camping chairs that's out. And then they walk away, and you're not going to see anybody again. So I take my chair out, flop it out. Goddamn chair breaks in half. It just broke. So I've got a blanket and a rock and no chair. And I'm going to be there for hours, and a notebook. And I sat there for 12 hours, and you'd fall in and out of sleep. And it was a crazy experience. Some wild hogs came and running up the stream, and I was fucking doing this with the chair, trying to poke them, because I didn't know if they were wild hogs, or I didn't know what they were. But I sat there for 12 hours, and I wrote in that notebook, and I manifested probably 4 or 5 of the things that I've implemented and become a part of since then, just from that one trip. And I've been on numerous more and have done more, exploration and all that kind of stuff. But, just that first time doing it brought me in to reading more, and I'm garbage at reading, but I force myself to read more, and take those things and then being able to use those to help the guys and to help the team.
Wow. That's awesome. I remember that. It was a couple of years ago, and I think that you had messaged me. I think it was a Sunday, and you're like, "Hey, do you know this Sam Taggart guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard of him. I don't really know him." And you're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Why?" You're like, "Oh, I'm going on this thing to Mexico. I don't know. I signed up for it. I don't really know what it is. I'm just trying to, figure out what I got myself into here." I'm like, I don't know, but have fun." So you didn't really know what it was, and then you find yourself sitting there staving off wild hogs with a broken chair, huh?
It was a very awkward situation, yeah, especially because nobody knew me when I rolled into that place either, right? I was very antisocial. I am not great with people on groups in the first setting. I am very it's going to take me about 4 days if I decide I like you or not, and which were some things that I worked on while I was there. So I stopped doing that. But it was by far the best thing that I've ever done, and it's definitely helped me get to where I am today.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, I think and I try to do the same thing. I wish that I made more time for it, but just taking a step back from the day to day and just thinking about what do you really want? What do you want your business to look like and your life to look like? And it sounds like that was obviously really, really valuable time spent.
Yeah, it's become more and more important to me every day.
And you're able to be a better leader. And I assume that now you guys, I wanted to touch on this earlier. You've grown a lot over the past few years, and I'm going to assume that played a role in your becoming a better leader and being able to lead your team better, hire a better team, lead a better team. Was that the catalyst for this growth that you've been seeing over the past couple of years?
Was the personal development stuff the catalyst?
Yeah, did that kind of start that? You said you had some things in your notebook that you wanted to manifest. Did that start this what I would call a pretty fast growth period? You guys won a national award this year for fastest growth and all that.
One of the things that I figured out when I was kind of doing that self-exploration, if you will, was that my job isn't to sell the most roofs. My job isn't to sell the biggest jobs. My job is to figure out how to help those around me. And that was what I figured out that I wanted to do. That's what I felt like I was passionate about. I wasn't passionate about, I want to sell 300 roofs this year. Like, that didn't excite me. Do I need to do that so I can pay for shit? Yes. But it didn't make me excited. It didn't make me want to get up in the morning and you know, do something during the day. But what did excite me as I was writing things down was helping other people. And I didn't know exactly what that looked like, you know, but everybody knows my story. They know, that I've been sober for a long time. And, you know, I try to help people in that world. But, you know, that's not the only world that I'm a part of. I have this work world. And so I have people in my company that I need to help first. And if I get the opportunity to be able to level them up and to take those reps and get them to a level that they want to be at so they can live the life that they want. If my office staff, if my, you know, everybody, my workers, you know, the guys that are on the roof, I get to help them and they get to be happy. When I do all those things here, then it translates out. And then the customer's happy and the customer feels like they're being taken care of. And then when I go to bed at night, I feel good about what I did during the day, right? We might have done 10 roofs, we might have done one. I don't really give a shit, right? Because I know that if we do all of those things, everything else is going to come, right? Everything else is going to come if those things are done the right way. So that's what I learned that I'm passionate about. And I think that when I started really implementing that into my life and I started caring about the right things, all the other shit just came with it.
Wow. That is a really mature perspective. And I guess I'm assuming 20 years ago when you were selling roofs and running the company, that wasn't your focus at all. But I guess over the years, it kind of evolves as you get experience in life and in the industry, huh?
Yeah. This sounds derogatory and it's not, but I call it, like, I kind of give my guys shit sometimes when they get stuck in that rut, and I call it a rep mentality. And I'm like, quit living in that rep mentality where it's all about the next sale, because the sales are going to take care of themselves. You know, you pick your customer, you pick who you want to work with. You do not have to work with everybody. You work with people that you want to go talk to, that you want to go to their house, you know, that they want you there. And when we start doing that, we get to help the right people. And you know, like I said, everything else changes. That's
an awesome mentality. I think about that a lot too. Like when you're so focused on the short term or the next sale, or, you know, the worst position is when you're kind of desperate and you need that next sale. Like everyone can smell that. That's a really stressful place to be. And we've all been there, right? But
you know, like a lot of us in the winter, we get that mentality and the wheels start spinning and we don't know what to do. And we're like, oh shit. You know, like, what are we going to do next? And when you're like, no, I'm going to focus on training and I'm going to focus on bringing guys in and I'm going to be ready when everything comes in the spring. And then we're able to pounce, you know, and like we're doing all these good things during that downtime that, you know, then it all comes to fruition.
You've been doing this long enough that you know to trust the process, right? You know that January and February are going to be, hey, there's not much money coming in your area of the country, but you know, if you put those things in place, then that business will be there year in and year out, right?
And it doesn't mean the little twinge in your gut doesn't still happen. You know what I mean? Like we can all stand around and, you know, prophesize that we know what we're doing and that we're not worried about, you know, 3 months from now. But like, I'm still a guy that owns a roofing company. And when it's January and there's 6 feet of snow on the ground, you're like, holy shit, is that ever going to melt? Like, oh my God, you know, I mean, you still get that little twinge. You can be doing 60 million a year, you know, you can be Paul Reed and he's still sitting there going, God damn, is that snow going to fucking melt? You know, like I know we all do it.
Yeah. Well, the bills don't stop coming in and you've got buildings that you got your own buildings and vehicles and a lot of overhead there. So that's certainly stressful, but I think in general, as you know, in business, as an owner, as a sales rep, as a person, the longer kind of mindset that you can have, the more relaxed you're going to be and just, okay, do the work that's important, not just urgent. And that's what's going to make a difference. In my experience.
Yep. Trusting the process is huge. And it takes a while to trust that you can trust the process, right? But once you really do and you buy into that and it becomes your mentality, I think it's a game changer.
Yeah. And it takes a while to actually have a process that you can trust. Because when you're just starting out, you're just like, just I don't know, sell a job, I'll figure it out. Like,
yeah, go sell shit and I'll order some shingles.
Yeah. I'll go sell a job and I'm going to post in the Facebook group and ask people like, how do I do it? Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's kind of scary. So you mentioned that phrase, like, I want to be better. I want to do better. Ironically, we were not connected. You and I were not connected on LinkedIn until this morning when I was just checking you out. And I saw that your LinkedIn, your job title was, let's be better. So that was pretty cool. Is that a part of your culture, a part of your company, or?
Yeah, it really is. It's something that we really drive home to our reps in the field for sure, is, because you'll get bad customers, right? I mean, you're going to get, or you'll get bad adjusters, or you'll get just, you get those people that are just hard to deal with. And when you know that you're keeping your side of the street clean and you're doing everything right on your side, and we're always being better, I think that, again, it goes along with the whole process thing, right? We know that we're doing the next right thing. And so we all know, no matter what happens, we can sleep well at night, knowing that we're being better. There's a lot of negative stereotypes and stories and things like that in this industry. There is, I don't know why I say probably, there are more bad contractors in this country than there are good ones. That's an absolute fact. And so when there's good guys out there, and, I know most of them that are good, guys, those guys have to really step up and try and bring up those other guys that are struggling, or maybe operating in the gray a little too much, and I think that that's something that I've tried to make a concerted effort the last few years to reach out and be vocal about, in that we're let's do everything the right way. And if we all do things the right way, that's only going to raise the entire industry, and it's going to raise everybody in it to do better and to be better. And that negative connotation that comes with being a contractor, all of a sudden we're not labeled in the same, we're not labeled in the same groups as used car salesmen and lawyers, right? Everybody won't hate us again.
And marketers.
Oh God. Yeah. There's too many of these fuckers too.
Self-awareness is key.
Holy shit. I couldn't get more messages from ad junkie, whatever, 902 at AOL.com.
AOL. It's so funny how you judge an AOL email address. Like, we get people that schedule calls with our sales team, every day. And every once in a while there's an AOL address. And like, I immediately look at that and I'm like, it's just like some old dude who's probably not a good fit. Like, you shouldn't judge, right?
I don't even know how you log into AOL to get your email anymore, right? I don't even know how that. Like, do you still have to pay them $16.95 a month? With the CD in the side of the computer so you can open your email up? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, you got to dial up and you hear the beeping and all that. And
I would only assume.
So yeah, you guys there's a lot of, bad, shady contractors, a lot of bad marketers. So from a marketing perspective, you owe it to yourself and your company and your team to show that you're a legit, real company, and to show that you care, and you guys do videos and everything like that. And you guys know you're great, but unless you do that marketing to let people in your local areas know that you're great, then they're just going to assume you're just another roofer, right? Yep. So even if you're not anyone's listening to this, even if you're not doing any like paid ads or anything like fancy like that, just having that web presence where people can go check you out, they can see your team. Go to dnmroofing.com. You'll see their team page, the careers page. You'll see some pretty awesome videos on there that they get a local video company to come in and do once in a while. And all those things, like you can't overestimate the impact that they have, because people have been burned by contractors before, multiple times. So they want to know that they can trust you, that you're going to take care of them and their property and their family and their investment and everything like that. So that's on the marketing end. And on the industry involvement end, you've definitely been involved. You're on the board of the American Policyholder Association, right?
Yeah, board advisor.
Oh,
yep.
Fancy.
Well, I'm not that important. I don't think I'm not on the board. We don't want people thinking that I'm hanging out with fucking John Hoteling on the board. I'm not. So, but yeah, I am a board advisor. Yes.
All right, board advisor. Okay, and you've been involved in the industry and kind of mentoring others. Can you tell us some more about that and about your involvement with others in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, joining the APA was kind of my first industry organization that I really got into. And that was also kind of where my helping others really started to stem from as I got to know, Doug and Heather more, because they're like the most amazing people in the world and give back more than anyone I've ever met in my life. Like, I mean, they're just amazing people.
I second that.
Yeah, like for sure, right? And the more I got involved in that, I started getting angrier as I saw some of the stuff that was going on in the industry, whether it's on the contractor side or the carrier side. And some of the fraud and the things that were happening like really made me angry. And I wanted to be, a larger part of that. And so I ponied up and I got involved more, and I, was asked to be a board advisor. And then that gave me the opportunity to meet some peers of mine that I felt at the time, a step above me. Like they really know what they're doing, come to find out once you get to know them, they don't know what the fuck they're doing either. But, and we're all just peers.
Exactly.
They just sold a couple more roofs last year. I got to know some of those guys. I saw what they were doing and how they were helping people and giving back, and whether it's giving back to the community or, giving back to the industry or whatever it is. I think those two things go hand in hand so much with the marketing side, like you were talking about, because why do people want to use us or use, you? They use you because their neighbor did, and you did a really good job and they enjoyed working with you. You cleaned up their yard really nice, right? So it's testimonials, referrals. You cleaned up their yard really nice, or they see how you give back. And that's the other third part of it, is that I feel like we're really big on figuring out a way to give back. And then sometimes it feels a little gross because, like you hate to market the fact that you're giving back, because then you kind of look like an asshole that's look at me. But right. I think that it's important for a couple of reasons. But one is other people see that, and then maybe another company goes, you know what, we should do that too. And then all of a sudden, a year down the road, maybe you've got 5 more companies in your community that are giving away roofs to veterans, right? And so now that one roof that we were able to give away turned into 5 because somebody else saw it. So I quit giving a shit if somebody thought that I was being self-promoting, because I know that the good that comes out of it in the end is way better, way bigger than, what my perception is.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing that people struggle with. Like, I want to be involved in the community, but I don't want to be like, oh yeah, look at me, I gave some money, I donated some time. But totally, and I think that you do those things because you want to do them, and then you can amplify the awareness on social media, which is one of the good things about social media. There's a lot of bad things, but that's one of the good things. And I guess it would be bad if other companies stepped up and gave roofs to veterans, and if you were pissed off because those other companies did it and it wasn't you, then that's that's
just an asshole.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But if your intent is there, especially when doing video and sharing video, like people can see that. Whereas if it's a company that's just doing that to get the publicity, then people can see that as well. So
right, yeah. If they're sitting there going, okay, this roof cost me $8,000, I better get a return of 75 if I'm going to invest this 8. Like, then you're just a dick. So like either do it to help or don't do it at all.
Absolutely. It's cool that in that example of the APA that you can get involved in something that you believe in, and that's really important. And you can also, in effect, buy a seat at the table, like of industry peers that are maybe above you or ahead of you, or whatever it is, or just or peers that you can bounce ideas off of. And I think it's so important in any industry, like stepping outside of your little bubble, getting outside the office, and maybe interacting with other people from other industries and seeing what they're doing and bring those ideas into your company. And a lot of times, like I say it all the time, like your innovations are going to come from not looking at what other roofers in Omaha are doing, because most people don't know what they're doing anyway. But looking at what companies in other industries are doing and trying that, trying something else, trying something new out in your business.
For sure. Like I I can speak to that in the fact of kind of going back to that, our circle trip. The guys involved in that group are all guys that have companies that are in the door-to-door space, right? So that they have reps that go door knocking. So there's alarm guys, there's solar guys, there's pest control guys, there's, all of those. Now, I don't get their business. Like, I don't get pest control guys. Don't understand it. Don't get the mentality. Don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Like, I don't understand it. But I've sat with those guys and had, in-depth conversations about their business and how they do things. And I'll take, and they're like, well, why don't you do this? And I'm like, well, because this wasn't working. They're like, what about this? Oh, ooh, nobody does that, but I could do it that way, and I took it and I flipped it and I implemented it. And then other companies would kind of look and go, where the hell did he come up with that? I'm like, shit, A, it wasn't me, but B, it was like from a totally different industry that they do it this way, but why can't we do it? Just because we haven't? Screw that. Like, let's try it.
Yeah, so I challenge everyone to try to get outside your circle, outside your comfort zone, and try those different things that others aren't doing. Don't just go into the Facebook groups or LinkedIn and see what others are doing and copy that, because you're just going to look and sound like any other roofing company or contracting company, and that's like the last place you want to be. So great point there. So you mentioned you built your team, you realized you had the self-awareness to realize like what you're good at, what you're not good at. You mentioned wanting to not, knock doors for 7 hours a day and not do those things and spend more time with your family. What is your schedule? What does your schedule look like now? Like, what does a typical work week look like? How many hours are you working? I know you spend a lot of time with your daughter, and that's really important to you. And talk to us a little bit about that.
It took me a while to kind of get to it, and I don't have the awesome schedule that your buddy Zach did on your last podcast. That was, like, let's be real, that's like 1 out of a million. But for the rest of us normal folk that live on Earth, I have a very good schedule though. Like, I'm very pleased with, and I've gotten, what I had to do though is I had to get the company to buy into my schedule. I had to get my team to buy into my schedule and why I do the things that I do, right? So, every single day, I get up at the same time. I get up at 6, and I get up and I'll do like some quick reading that I have on my list to do, just like personal development reading, not like work reading. I won't do anything work related. I've had to like tell my guys, do not wake up at 7 and try and call me. I will not answer your phone call. I will not respond to your text. Leave me alone. I get up and then I go to the gym. I go to the gym every day. I'm at the gym from 8 to 9:15. I'll clean up, and then I will roll into the office at about 9:30, between 9:30 and 10 every single day. The only day that's different is on Wednesdays. We have a sales meeting at 7 a.m. And so I come in at 7 a.m. for the sales meeting, and we make it at 7 a.m. because nobody has adjuster meetings at 7 a.m. So nobody has an excuse not to make a meeting at 7 a.m. And so that's one day a week. And I come in usually around 10, and I stick around here if I have meetings or calls or whatever. And I don't stay here ever any later than 4, and I might have some inspections to do, some commercial inspects or some, commercial meetings that I might have to take, during the week that I can dip out on. But then I'm here for, from 10 to 3-ish, whatever. I might dip out to golf. I don't know, because I can do that. But I'm here to like help guys if they need help with some retail quotes or they don't understand something. And then I go home. I stay on the clock, and I'll have my phone by me till about dinner, right? So I don't totally check out. So I'll have my phone around. But then I go home, and like you said, the reason I work is so I can spend time with my daughter. She's 5 years old, and she's the most important thing in the world. And I'm going to spend as much time as humanly possible with her until she doesn't want to spend that time with me. And there's no one else that calls me on my phone that is more important than that. So I go home and I go swimming or do whatever and play with her for a few hours. So we get to have that time together. So, because my job's to keep her off the pole. And so as long as I, come home and spend time with her, then I feel like that I'll keep her out of there.
I'm trying to keep a straight face. Oh, man. That's awesome. Your daughter's, you say your name Teagan or Taggart?
Teagan, with 2 E's like a golf tee.
Teagan. Okay. That's right. Okay. So our social media marketing manager is Teagan, Taegen.
Got it.
So Teagan, if you're looking at this video, let's insert a picture of Eric and his daughter Teagan eating ice cream on a Sunday, because I know that's what they do.
And we do not miss Sundays. We do not miss Sundays.
Yeah, that is really cool to see. That's awesome to see. And I'm smiling because we have a 5-year-old daughter as well, and we have a date tomorrow to go to the coffee shop, and like I'm looking forward to it, and she is, and I don't do enough of it. I need to do more of it, but that's so important.
It is factually more important than anything else you do during the day, Joe.
I know.
It's just, I mean, it absolutely is.
Yeah, because you're right. There's going to be that day when it's like, hey,
he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, hey, you want to go to the coffee shop and get your favorite whatever? She's like, no. I'm gonna be depressed that day.
Yeah, and then you're gonna look back and be like, God damn it, I really didn't need to send those 4 emails that day, did I?
I know, right? Shoot that stupid marketing video that I had to do.
Yeah, right. With Eric.
Yeah. So how long has that been a schedule for you?
1.5 years.
Cool.
Yep, about 1.5 years. I've been very, very rigid to that schedule. And as you know, we travel a lot as well. Mm-hmm. And I have figured out how to make that work, where we've taken trips where, we go down and spend a lot of time in Grand Cayman so I can go scuba diving and things like that. And I went down there for, as long as 40 or 50 days at a time, and everything still ran smooth. I was still working, from down there, and we'd have Zoom meetings, and I'd meet with the staff, and we'd have sales meetings. And if I had a big client that I needed to talk to, I would. And and like Zach even mentioned in your last podcast, I offered, I was like, I'll fly home for a couple of days and go meet with somebody if I need to, and then I'll fly back. What's it going to cost me, $1,000 for a $300,000 job? Yeah. Okay. No problem. Like I'll absolutely do that. Yeah. So that's super important, because again, we don't get that time back either. And I think that those experiences and traveling and the different cultures and things like that, I think that makes you a better person as well. And you get to bring that home to your people. Yeah, it's selfish. I love going on vacation, but I get to bring stuff back, as well.
It's not selfish, because you are not screwing your team. Like, you've got processes, you've invested in training your team, you've got like an office, you're building out a new office. Like they're in good hands. I don't mean to make an Allstate reference, but yeah, they're they're in good hands. So you're not, I don't think it's selfish at all. Yeah, we're thinking of doing something like that this winter, especially if the schools are shut down again here in New Jersey. We've always wanted to do it, and like, go to Costa Rica for a month or somewhere else and hang out. And it's like, why not? Like, I can work from wherever, and my wife can, do her thing from wherever, and kids can learn from wherever. So why not? At this point, the video or the audio, whatever people are listening to or watching, Eric might be getting a lot of messages like, wait a minute, you're working, you're going down to Cayman for 40 or 50 days. You're working, you're in the office from 10 to 4. Like, that's impossible. Like, how do you do that? And I think a lot of people are probably listening and watching like, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds amazing for him. But like, I can't do that because I got this, that, and the other thing. What would you say to like call someone out on their BS, or how does someone like make that the reality?
I made it intentional. So I sat down and said, I don't want to work all day. How do I accomplish that? And then I had to do the work to sit down and write out, how does that happen? How do I accomplish those things? How do I not have to go in? Well, I have to have this person that can do these things, right? Or I need to have this system in place so that these things take care of themselves. And then it went back to, okay, well, what are the things that I want to do? And when I figured out the things that I want to do, then I said, well, how long does it take me to do those things? Well, 5 hours a day, whatever, 6 hours a day, whatever it is, I can definitely get all of those things done that I want to do in that time. And then I better figure out how to delegate the other things that I don't like to do that still have to get done. So I think at the end of the day, if you're not intentional, you can't get anything done. So the example that I always use is when somebody comes up to me and we're just bullshitting, talking, whatever, they'll be like, oh, wow, boy, I want to get that car over there, or whatever it is, right? It's always some like beat up shithole Mustang. I don't know, like they're like, oh, I'd fix that up and I'd do this and I do that. And they're like, boy, if I could buy that, or if I could get that. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to do? What do you mean? Well, if you want it, go get it. How are you going to get it? Right? So sit down and write out a plan of how you're going to accomplish that, or you're never going to get it. You're not going to win the goddamn lottery. That's not how you're going to get the shit that you want to have. You're going to get it by writing out a plan and trying to implement, not trying. I hate the word trying, and implementing, because you don't try, you either do it or you don't.
Yoda.
And implementing that plan. And when I finally realized that, and I really bought into that mentality, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I figured it out and I came up with a plan, and when I wanted to start buying commercial properties and, flipping them and renting them and, whatever, I didn't know how to do that. I had no idea. And I was like, well, who do I call? And I'd call that person. I'm like, well, how do I do this? Well, how do I get this money? Well, how do I get more money for this? I'm like, well, you got to do this and this. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it might as well be Chinese. Well, who do I call to find out what that means? So then I'd call that guy to find out what that word means. Like, I have no idea how to leverage this against that and, whatever. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. What's a 1031? But I was the guy that would nod my head and go, yeah, I'll fucking 1031 it. I didn't know what that meant until I actually did it, and I had no clue. But I figured out how to do it, and I wrote it down and said, these are the things I want to do. How do I figure out how to do it? And then we did it. And then I bought that old shitty piece of shit Mustang, in the description. I didn't, because I hate cars, but same idea.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And one of the reasons I ask these questions in almost every interview, because I'm learning and growing and trying to implement. I said trying. I'm implementing some of the same things and being intentional about your life. And it's so important. And you see so many, we work with dozens and over 100 roofing companies right now. And it's like guys, girls are working 16 hours a day, and it's like a badge of honor, like people are probably looking at you like, oh, who's this slacker? You don't get to the office till 9:30, you leave at 4. Like, oh, like you're such a slacker.
I get way more done than you do in your 16 hours. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. And it's like a badge of honor. And I fall into that trap too. It's like Gary Vee, working 18 hours a day, man. Oh, I only work 12. I'm such a slacker. But you've got to be intentional about that. And it's the old, like, if don't keep so busy making a living that you forget to make a life.
Yep.
And it's taking time away, and you don't have to go to Mexico and hang out with wild hogs to do it. You could just take some time away in your own town or whatever. Just take a couple days off, and it's so true. And getting more done in 6 hours. That's the old is it Parkinson's law? I think it's like your work will expand to fill the time that you allot to it. So, if you're at your desk 9 to 5, then you're going to do work for 8 hours. But if you only have 4 hours, then you're going to magically, like, you're going to get that stuff done. You're going to get the important stuff done anyway.
Yep. 1,000%. 1,000%.
This is a wise man. This is a wise man that we have on our show. So very grateful to hear some of these insights. On that note, what are your boundaries? Like, I have boundaries where I don't respond to calls or anything at night or weekends. Do you have any of those things in place that are like rules for your life and business on how you operate?
I still struggle with that a little bit. I mean, I'm an open book. I don't lie about shit. That one I still struggle with a little bit. I'm currently kind of dealing with that and just telling guys I'm trying to slowly train everyone, because you can tell people all day long what you want, but they're still going to do what they want. You know what I mean? And so I'm slowly, and it's going to be funny because they'll watch this and they'll be like, you are fucking training me. But like, I'm slowly trying to just train everybody to know when, things like that happen, right? Everybody knows not to bother me on Sunday. That's my day with my daughter. And, everybody knows that, after a certain time at night, everybody's, pretty respectful about that. My big goal has been trying to get it shut off at dinner, so I can spend that time with my family, so I can spend that time with my wife and my daughter, and that I don't have those outside distractions. Now, you can ask her, and I am not perfect at that. The phone will still be nearby, and I'll hear a ding and go, shit, I got to get that, but I'm currently trying to get better at that. I think that's something we all need to get better at, and put the phone away for a while. Like, there's days that I wish it was 1996 and I still had a truck mounted phone, take with me, you know what I mean? Like, and I only had 96 minutes that I could afford for that month, to use. There's days that I still wish I had that. And then I realized that I'd be poor if that was the case.
Right.
And I didn't have all the technology that we have today. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not perfect at it either. I try in theory, put my phone in a drawer or something when I get home, dinner time and try not to take it out. But, we're all human, but at least you got to like make that effort to draw those boundaries for sure.
Definitely make the effort. I'm not perfect, but we can all strive to be better.
Cool, man. Eric, I think that's an awesome way to wrap it up. Thank you so much for sharing these insights. I laughed. I almost cried. It's inspiring. It's inspiring to see someone. I think the theme of this episode is intentionality. It's being intentional about what you want to build, and not just waking up every day, checking your phone, putting out fires for 16 hours, and then waking up and doing it all over again tomorrow. That's no fun, and you're not going to have much of an impact that way. You're not going to impact other people, and not going to be able to build a team and provide for people and provide futures for people. And so be intentional about what you're doing. It's okay with you. We got a few more questions, kind of a lightning round to have some fun and jump into some of these. You mentioned reading. What book are you currently reading?
Atomic Habits.
Oh, James Clear.
If you say so. I was told to read it. I have no idea who wrote it, but I'm reading Atomic Habits.
It's on my Amazon wish list, so I will. I'll move that toward the top.
It's good.
Cool. I just finished High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. Highly recommend. I finished it last night. One recommendation for a new owner in the roofing industry. You probably have many, but if you could just pick one for someone just starting out this year.
Figure out what you like to do and what you're good at. I think that I think you have to start everything with that. Figure out what you like to do and what you're good at, and then do that.
Perfect. How about a tip for someone who is listening or watching, who's grinding, who's stressed, who's burnt out, and wants to make more time for their family and the things that they love to do?
I mean, that takes a minute. So, you know what I mean? That's tough because it's so quick. You want it quick. It's go back to the last answer. Figure out what you like to do and do that, and then find people to do the shit that you don't want to do so that you can make the time to do those other things that you want to do. It's all about making the time. Make the time. You never say, you don't say I can't do this. You can, you just have to do it and then deal with the consequences.
Yeah. It's so figure out the what and the why, and then the how will come, right? You'll figure out that how along the way. What's next for D&M?
Oof, the winter. This has been a really interesting year, and I think what my goal is for the next year is to, we were very intentional about separating the company into two different departments. So it's a commercial division and a residential division. I still have to bleed a little bit into two. And so by this time next year, our goal is to be almost two complete separate entities, and to have those both running at high levels. Right now we're in that transition phase, which is exciting, but it's also, I have to put in a little bit more time. So I look forward to a year from now, those being completely separate, being run smoothly, and going from there.
Yeah, we'll check in on you in about a year then, and hold you accountable to that. You mentioned winter. Are you looking forward to winter in Omaha?
No. I mean, the answer is no. There's no.
I was hoping for a more colorful answer. That's why I put that one at the end.
Oh, sorry. No, I will get no. So if they open borders anywhere, I will get the fuck out of here immediately. But we usually stick around till about November, and then head down to where it's warm for as long as we can. And then obviously it's conference season, and I get to see you. So
yeah, that'll be interesting to see, what events and conferences are happening. Who knows? We're recording this in July 2020 with a whole bunch of craziness going on in the world. So who knows?
Well, whatever happens, Joe.
There you go. You got to roll with it.
Yep.
All right, Eric, I really appreciate your time and insights here. This is going to be a fun one to edit and publish. Can't wait to get it out there. Thanks again.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.